pleasure to see you. But those remains do not belong to you. Lord Moog will have his dignity.
Lord brother. At long last you are returned. Tarnished one. Aspiring lord of the old order. If you have known sin, if you grieve for this world, then yield the path forward to us. To I, Nicola, and my promised consort, Radahn.
Hello everyone, welcome back, and from the title you probably know what mistake I've done. I forgot to click record yet again, and yeah, the only footage I have of this fight is the first time I got to phase 2, where I saved the footage because of the cutscene, and then yeah, I simply did not record the attempt where I beat him. Unfortunately, I tried to recover some files of old attempts where I got close, but honestly I don't understand how these file recovery systems work, because I have failed to recover files every single time I've deleted footage. Maybe you have to pay, use the paid version, I don't know. But all videos are, I usually can't find the good videos because the ones I want to recover are usually longer, or they're just corrupt. So I just don't have any footage, unfortunately. Now, it's not actually that big of a deal, hopefully, because my attempt was pretty horrible. I got lucky, I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't be able to reproduce that result. Which is why I actually looked into the option I have of like respawning the boss, but it seemed like a lot of work. Only for me to sit down and have to keep practicing it so I could respawn. Essentially, the way I got lucky, the way I beat it, was that I kited around. Every time he would, I summoned both aids. I think I had that in the video. It's been a week since I recorded, actually beat him. I've been trying to find a way for a week to get some footage back. So I don't remember exactly what was in the footage I put in front of this. I'm pretty sure I have both this guy, which you get. I'll talk about the items you get, and the mimic. So yeah, if I got lucky, he would aggro one of the ads. I would then just go in for a hit, and for some reason or maybe this is in the base game as well. I didn't really. No, actually, I used the summons a bit in the base game, and it wasn't that much of a problem. In the DLC, though, for some reason, the bosses, because they have these long chains of attacks that last 17,000 years, mid-chain or mid-combo, they will swap targets. So I would run in, hit, and then just run out. And then the boss would target me. I would just run around for a bit, sometimes minutes at a time, hoping that one of the ads would catch up to the boss, tag him, and then switch aggro, and then do it again. I would also put... I tried a lot of various consumables on my bar, hoping that my mimic would use them. Some of the pots did good, some did not. I put perfumes, spammables, pots, and the one pot that really worked well was the rot, scarlet rot stuff. Poison kinda worked, but I had to hit him multiple times, and it's easy to miss. I had to get lucky that the ad would hit. Bleed, I couldn't get any bleed procs off. Perfumes were too slow. So yeah. So the attempt where I beat it, I got really lucky. I got off poison and rot, scarlet rot, and we managed to break him in a position where the ads were already close and attacking. So we tagged him for a lot of life while he was poison broken. Because usually, again, I don't know if they changed the AI for the DLC, the ads are super slow to engage. Very many attempts just ended with the fact that I was being chased around and the ads were just casually walking up or not even doing anything. So in the attempt where I beat it, I just got lucky, to be honest. It wasn't pretty. So if you really want to see good attempts, also during this week, I've been going down the rabbit hole of watching YouTube channels doing no hits of these DLC bosses. There's two in particular that I like. One is a Korean channel, I believe, Ongbal, and another one I think is Quop with a Q, Quopp, I think, something like that. They have pretty good fun content to watch. And I actually learned a lot. I realized that the dodge patterns are quite a bit easier than I thought, and many times when I saw some of the dodge patterns, I thought to myself, like, oh my god, why didn't I just try that? As an example, in phase 2 here, you won't see it in my footage, but in phase 2 of this boss, every time he swings his sword, a bunch of faith sky beams comes dashing down. And I would only keep dodging backwards, and those beams are literally catch you dodging backwards. And the solution, which I didn't try, but is very obvious, is just that you dodge into them. Which is easy. Not that hard, I just can't believe I didn't try it. And with Mesmer, for instance, we hit his big anime chain attack where he flies around. I was applying the Millennia method of running away, trying to run away from the last attack. But the last attack where he slams the ground and spears come out. Apparently all you have to do is just dodge it. Simple. The gravity pole from this boss, all you have to do, dodge it. So it's a lot of very simple solutions that I just didn't bother to try. We're just a bit bummed out about that. I think I could have done better. But anyways, I suggest those two YouTube channels. Watched a lot. It's like one very interesting video, I saw Ongbal beat this boss with bow only, which was very entertaining, surprisingly entertaining. Anyways, so yeah, sorry I don't have any footage. The cutscene wasn't that special, you can just look it up really, it was like 10 seconds or something. Bummer. Some of you might be disappointed, but I think most of you if not all of you already played, so you're well aware. You probably just wanted to see my suffering. But yeah, the footage wouldn't have been pretty anyways. It wouldn't have been good content or like entertaining content. I would just be 90% of the time I would be running away, and then one lucky poise break, bring it down. So not really a good performance either way. But yeah, so bummer, but it is what it is. So the reason why that happens is because I record a few attempts, and if I fail, I delete the footage. And sometimes, and this happens quite often, but because I've failed quite often, you don't know, I forget to Alt-Tab and press record. And that's really what happens. And it happens when I get bored. Then I kind of forget to do it. And the reason why I do it is to manage space. It's anyways, whatever. Messed up. Wasn't good footage. Go check the footage. I'm gonna wait, and then you can go see it. Alright, welcome back. And yeah, overall, it's a pretty good boss. I believe this is a nerfed version. I understand why people find it a bit tedious, because he does attack for a very long time. That is the case with all of the bosses in this DLC, to be honest. I don't particularly like it, but with this boss, it's kind of fine. OST in Phase 1, really good. Really good, actually. Phase 2, it's okay. So yeah, I thought I was gonna just talk a little bit about my opinions about the game. Now, some of you probably already know I'm not a big fan of it, but I have some things that I think the game did well. So yeah, what do I start with? I don't have a script for this. So how do I even begin? I guess we can start with what I think the DLC did well. I'm gonna treat this as a separate game. Full disclosure, I think Elden Ring is better. Way better, actually. But I'm gonna pretend like this is its own game. It kinda is, if you look at the price tag and the volume of hours that you play. So I'm just gonna call it Erdtree, just to make it simple as well. So what do I think this game did better than Elden Ring? Number one, I think the introduction of more exotic weapons is pretty fun. There's not a lot of them. They're pretty cool. Some I even didn't bother to try because they're not my style, but I'm sure some people had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, spell always nice with new spells and weapons. Yeah, that's it. I think they're cool. Some worked less efficiently than I hoped. There are some Ashes of War that are really cool, but they really rely on you knowing the boss pattern exactly to take advantage. So I don't think they're very first playthrough friendly, which is fine. What is happening with this guy's leg? Okay. Well, that's happening. Yeah, I'll leave the leg there. So yeah, some interesting exotic stuff added to the game. That's pretty cool. Is it worth buying just for that? No, I don't think so. So yeah, anyways, next, what I think they did really well, the architecture. Whoever leads the architectural team for both Elden Ring and Erdtree, to be honest, did a phenomenal job. And I think the architectural team went even harder in the Erdtree, especially, let's look at the map. This area right here. I think the green area was a bit disappointing. And the black keep, that's what they call it, shadow keep. Especially the specimen tower, the water area looks really nice. The puzzle-like nature of the tower, quite refreshing. And of course the atmosphere and the artistic style of the more Mesopotamian or Babylonian architecture of this, what's it called again? Is it Bellerat? No, it's Enir Ilim. And then this is Bellerat, yeah. This area looks really nice. Now, unfortunately, most of the DLC is just barren. But the areas where there is architecture, I think it's phenomenal work. And I hope they do more of it. It really should. It's one of the strongest points of the DLC, if you ask me. It's the architectural style. Not just the style, but also the layout. It's actually like top-notch. I can't even recall if I have experienced a game that has better architecture. So yeah, it's kind of weird because Elden Ring excels in some really odd stuff. So like the architecture and the light physics. I've never seen a game that has better light physics than Elden Ring. I've never seen a game emulate light so well. Like my eyes actually feel warm. My brain relaxes when I look into the light. Like my brain actually thinks it's real sun. This is a bit artificial, to be fair. It's very white. And I've actually compared the light of Elden Ring with some other games. I compared it with I haven't played the Wukong game, but I've compared it, taken note of it, and some other FromSoft games and whatnot. Nothing comes close. It's literally best in class. And so is the architecture, in my mind. Yes, games like Sekiro has great architecture as well, but it's not that hard to make like a feudal Japan, or is it Edo era Japan architecture, because it's overdone. I like it, but it's overdone. This is all kind of original work, and it looks amazing. Flat out looks amazing. What else do they do better? The originality of the dungeons. One really boring aspect of Elden Ring was the fact that all the dungeons were pretty much the same, and which got really boring. In this game, the dungeons are fairly unique, and diving into them, there are fewer of them, of course, but they're way more unique, each of them, and there are more unique bosses at the end of them as well. And I would prefer that over what we got in Elden Ring, where there were a buttload of them, and most of them are pretty much the same. So I actually think that is the right choice here. Fewer dungeons, but more unique dungeons. So that's a step forward. In terms of the bosses, there are 4 good bosses in this game. The rest are absolute poop, and I will get to that in a second. Out of the 4, 2 are good, but have problems, and 2 are pretty damn good. Elden Ring level good. But the one thing that the 4 bosses excel at over the Elden Ring bosses is that they're more epic. They have more dramatic effects in the fight. They are more epic combat. And I had another K word, dramatic, epic, and then one more that just slipped my mind. But I guess we'll just go with 2 out of 3. There's some anime-esque combat and moves, and like phase shifts and whatnot that I really liked, raising the stakes and the intensity of the fights. And those 4 are Dancing Dragon, Bale, Mesmer, and Radon. Radon and Mesmer being the 2 really good ones that I think are in line with the level that we see in Elden Ring, and then Dancing Lion, and Bale being good but suffering because of the camera, and I will get to that also in the bad section. So yeah, I think those are the strong arguments, or the strong points of this game. It's not that many, unfortunately. Trying to think if there's more. Again, no. Is the leg float? No, I'm standing on something. Trying to think if there's more. I don't think there are many strong points to this DLC other than what I mentioned, in my opinion. Sadly. So let's go with what I dislike. Now, there's a lot of things I dislike. I won't make a full list of it. Let's go for the core things. Number 1, the boss design in general. I think it's absolute crap. I think they took a page out of the Dark Souls framework of designing bosses, where they just slap in a bunch of horror-style bosses, generic horror-style bosses, and force it into the story somehow. Never when I fought any of the other bosses than the 4 that I mentioned, I felt like I was interacting with the world or the story in any meaningful way. I just felt like there was this a bunch of code in front of me that I had to interact with. Just the code itself. It could have been literally anything else. It would have had zero impact on my experience. It might as well have just been actual code. That's how little I cared about the most of the bosses. Not to mention that most of the boss fights are dysfunctional as hell. You have bosses sliding around. You have wonky hitboxes. You have insane tracking. You have 5 million year-long chain attacks. Just your typical FromSoft filler crap with code that doesn't match the visuals and just boring fights. Personality-less boring fights. There's some that stand out as just hideous, and there's some that I've just completely forgotten already. But overall, minus those 4 that I mentioned, the boss quality is boring as hell. And the point about it being boring I'll come back to later. Then there's the camera. The camera is equally as bad in this as it is in Elden Ring, but in Elden Ring, the people who designed the bosses, especially the main story bosses, they took great care of designing bosses that circumvented the bad camera. They understood the limitation of their technology, whilst the people that made the bosses in this game did not. So you feel like you're fighting the camera all the time. And even with the 2 good bosses, the Dancing Lion and Bale, the camera is in the way often, and is a big limiting factor. Luckily with Radon and Mesmer, I did not notice any problems with the camera, and that's because I believe they were made in the framework of the Elden Ring bosses, which is why they're the 2 best fights in the game, in my opinion. You're not really fighting the camera at all. So that's that. Then there is the barren land. This was also a problem in Elden Ring, where there was large space of nothing happening. In this DLC they doubled down. Not only is there large spaces of nothing happening, there is also very often no reward at the end of it, which made it even more boring to play. I wish it would just spread out, like, more rewards, more things to find, and also more items. Yes, they introduced some exotic weapons. It's just not enough, in my opinion. Which is why the price also isn't justifiable, if that's the argument. Then we have the OST. I think most of the OST is just boring. Again, Dark Souls 3 style OST is nowhere near the level of care that was put into the Elden Ring OST, or even the Part 1, or even Radon as a whole, or Dancing Lion. Dancing Lion has a fantastic OST, not gonna lie, listen to it a lot. Absolutely amazing. The rest, no, just completely boring. Then we have the black tint. This game is dark and dirty. It has this weird ass sooth coal filter to it. Not cold, but coal, as in on a barbecue. And it's unpleasant to play. It's unpleasant for the eye because it's depressing. As opposed to Elden Ring, which shines amazing realistic light and shadow into your eye to relax your brain and make you absorb the colors and the visuals. This game is just dirty and hideous to look at. It's only here really, but it's kind of cleared up. And even here, there is this white dust everywhere. And I'm sure there is some artistic reasoning for it. I just think the artistic reasoning has gone so far that it's impeding gameplay. It's just unpleasant to play, in my opinion. And they took one of the strongest elements of Elden Ring, which is the visual atmosphere and just the realistic light, and how the light interacts with the details on the wall. Because the graphics themselves aren't that fantastic, you can see, but the light and the shadows physics are so good that it enhances the visuals 100 times over. It's one of the strongest aspects of Elden Ring, and they just completely threw it out the window by covering it up with this dark nonsense. I absolutely hate it. I wish I never have to see it again in any game. So yeah. And then the final point, and I think this is the most important point, I think it's the boredom aspect. I've seen a lot of feedback or people talking about how difficult the game is. Is the game more difficult than the base game? Yes, a little bit. Is it that difficult? No, it's not that difficult. I'm underleveled and I didn't use any... I didn't use a level 10 weapon for most times. I barely used buffs or items. And I didn't also use the, I don't know what it's called, Erdtree stuff until this fight, Radon, because I got tired of practicing and getting like 2-shot all the time. It slowed down the practice. So it's a little bit harder, but it's not that hard. I think the game is just boring. And I think a lot of people are conflating boredom with difficulty. I think a lot of people had way more fun playing Elden Ring. And as a result, having more fun means you're more motivated to get better at anything, really. Usually, there are 2 reasons to get better, 3 reasons to get better at something. 1 is survival, 2 is money, and 3 is fun. Now, I don't think anyone's survival depends on their skill level in this game, and most people are not making any money getting better at this game, so it really comes down to fun. And I just don't think this DLC is fun. I think Elden Ring is a tremendous amount of fun, which is why I'm happy to throw myself underleveled at Lord Mohg over and over until I learn the fight and can beat him heavily underleveled, because it was fun for me to master. Well, master, but get good at. I enjoyed the challenge. Here, I didn't enjoy any of the challenges. Yes, I did enjoy the 4 bosses, and Dancing Lion I had the energy to master or beat, but the other 3, they came so late in the game that by the time I got there I was burnt out. I just didn't have any more interest in learning it. Everything else just wore my motivation to play and my experience of fun down to like nothing. And when that happens, you're just not motivated enough to learn the mechanics. And then you think, and then you're not progressing, and then you think it's because it's more difficult. Like with Radon, for instance. Some of the solutions to some of the attacks are very obvious and easy. It just didn't cross my mind to try it because I was just not in the mindset of wanting to do it. I kind of just wanted it to be over. And I think that's an affliction that most people are suffering off when playing this. But then they just construe it as, I hope that's the right word, construe it as difficulty. Now, that's not really a problem in general, but I think it is a problem in this particular case, because if I remember correctly, the developers of the game have publicly said that they don't like it when people like, for instance, the YouTube channels that I mentioned earlier, beat the bosses with ease. I think that's an ego thing. I think it's a stupid thing to say by the developers, because if people are willing to put in the hours to completely master your game, it means that they believe the game is fun, which means that you have done something right. But the developer's response is to then put in a bunch of nonsense, like the 5 million year long chain attacks and overtuned bosses in some cases, just annoying mechanics, in order to artificially boost the difficulty to punish players in a sense. And the result is that players just don't have fun, and then they think it's harder, and then they struggle. And then the feedback goes back to developers, and if this was the result they wanted, then they believe they made the right choice in dumping the Elden Ring framework and moving more towards like a Dark Souls 3 framework instead. And they will feel like what's the word called? Positive reinforcement on a decision that fundamentally is bad in my opinion. And the problem long term with that is that we're gonna see, and I think this is what's gonna happen, unfortunately. I think the next iteration of Souls games, whatever that may be, Elden Ring 2 or Dark Souls 4 or whatever, is gonna be more in line with their framework or the design philosophy of Dark Souls 3 / Shadow of the Erdtree than Elden Ring. Even though, in my opinion, Elden Ring is 10 times superior than both of them. And I think most people would agree that the bosses in Elden Ring are superior. They're more fun. I think so. I don't know, but I think. But unfortunately, because they have a twisted way of looking at the result, they are going to believe that what they did with Shadow of the Erdtree is the correct way to move forward, because the overwhelming response is that it's too difficult, and that is what they wanted. But again, in summary, I don't believe it's too difficult. I just believe it's too bland and boring, and that people aren't motivated to learn it. And I think that's the biggest fear I have, because I really did not have a lot of fun in Shadow of the Erdtree. I had a buttload of fun in Elden Ring. And if they believe that going forward, making games with the same mindset as Shadow of the Erdtree is the right choice, then the next game they produce isn't gonna be enjoyable either. So I wish more people would talk about the blandness and the boredom and the lack of motivation to beat the game, as opposed to it just being difficult. I think the difficulty is just a symptom, essentially. It's not the core issue. So yeah, that's what I think. Long rant. Overall, I think there are some good elements in this DLC. I think for the most part it's not that good. It's definitely not worth the price tag. There were many times I wish I hadn't bought it, to be honest. It leaves a very sour aftertaste after a very great experience in Elden Ring. And it also kills my motivation to do more Elden Ring content, to be honest. But that's my opinion. If you're unsure, if you're watching this and you're unsure whether you want to buy it or not, my opinion is don't buy it full price. You're not really missing out, to be perfectly honest. Unless the items specifically is something you want. But yeah, get it on sale. If you have to, if you have the time and you're willing to risk the money, get it on sale. I would not buy it on full price at all. I don't think it's worth. I don't think it's representative to look at the hours, the content of hours, and say, oh, it's 90 hours of content, so it has to be worth. Yes, but a lot of those hours is just nothingness, unrewarding content, and boredom, just bland boredom. There's very little rewarding, fun content in this DLC, unfortunately. So that's my opinion. I don't think my opinion will change anything, but well, whatever. So this is what I got. I got something else as well. I'll show you. This is Ankbak's loot, I believe. So let's take a look at this. Obsidian, Lamina, Reaper. Haven't really played with this. Dynastic Sickle Play. Arcane, Blood Loss. Signature weapon of the Pure Blood, Knight Ansbach. Viciously clean and slender scythe made for combat. The Obsidian Edge relies upon trickery to fulfill its violent purpose. Only well-honed skill is required to rip and rend through foes, sowing blossoms of red upon the battlefield. Dynastic Sickle Play, a finessed, evasive skill that creates space to maneuver. Inputs dictate direction of the backstep. Follow up with strong attack to perform an advancing upward slash. Press strong attack again to bring the weapon back down. Okay. Not gonna look too much at the moveset. I am not familiar with the scythe moveset at all. Oh, this is weird because I'm holding right now, and I go left. It's like literally the opposite. Pretty cool if you like scythes. This armor set he dropped. Iron Mask of Sir Ransbach, giving the appearance of a quiet, wise, old bearded man, but an old fear lurks beneath, together with a cold, unflinching disciple that once honed his blade, now employed to enhance blood oath and dynastic skill. And Ansbach understood that keeping his oath to his old master was not an act of logic, nor would it bear any justice. But it was for these very reasons he was unable to let go. Nothing there. And then we also got Circlet of Light. Circle of Light, which adorned Miquella's head as he returned in divine aspect, has begun to fade into nothingness. Slightly boosts intelligence, faint and arcane, while also boosting the power of Miquella's light. This circle was to be the very foundation upon which Miquella's Age of Compassion would be built, should it have ever come to pass. Oh, I just remembered something. Another thing that this DLC did poorly, in line of Dark Souls 3, is the heavy punishment of doing the quests slightly in the wrong order. Elden Ring did very well with giving you leeway in how you do your quests, which is way more casual friendly, and let's be real, casual friendly is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to respecting the gamer's time. This DLC did not. You accidentally mess up so much. Like, there is actually, I found out that there is an area after the Sludge Knight. You can actually listen to Saint Trina talk, because I watched a little bit of lore. Oh, we're right, the lore. I want to talk about the lore too. And you can actually get a voice line from her. Let's actually go see if we can do it. But I believe I can't, because I didn't do the Poison Dude's questline properly, and I didn't do the Poison Dude's questline properly because I I walked too close to the Shadow Keep. I had no choice. I didn't get any voice in the matter of whether or not I wanted to progress it or not. And yeah. And as a result, I think I completely missed out on some critical dialogue related to Marika and her lore, and also hearing from Saint Trina for the first time. So, or maybe it's over here. Or did I just forget to go here? Oh, I just forgot to go here. But actually... No, I don't think we can hear the dialogue. Yeah, so I actually forgot. Yeah, I did forget to go here. But... from my understanding, in order to hear her dialogue, to hear her speak, you have to have done the quest exactly correctly. And if you come close to the Shadow Keep, then you screwed up. Just completely screwed up. And that's what happened. I'm pretty sure that's why I can't speak. I don't think it's because I beat the boss. Could be. I could be wrong, but either way, that's also another bad thing. Anyways, the lore. Let's go to... because I watched a little bit of the lore, and the lore seems really good. Like, actually pretty good. Where was this? I think it was up here, right? No, where was it? I think it was here. Just give me one moment. Nah, never mind, let's just go. Right, so apparently the lore... and I may have been right in some aspects, maybe not all, obviously, but... so apparently this is where Marika is from. She's a part of this, like... I think they're called Newman? Shamans, essentially. And they were essentially oppressed for the purpose of being put into those jars. So all those jar creatures, those female-like jar creatures that we've been fighting, they come from this village, or the people of this village. These people of this village. And so basically they were just kept repressed for the sake of being stuffed into those jars, because their flesh melded so well with others. Now, I don't remember what the purpose of those jars were, but this is hinted to be the main motivation for Marika's crusade in this place, because the people that did that to the shamans were the Hornsent, actually. So that even though it might seem like the Hornsent are these poor victims of Marika's crusade in the name of the Erdtree or the Elden Beast or whatever, or the Golden Order. I think the crusade started before the Golden Order. At least the Golden Order we run into in Elden Ring. But I think it's mostly fueled by hate and vengeance. And there is some clues to it. I think we ran into some clues of ghosts and texts of soldiers that are in despair because of what they have to do during this crusade. And how horrible it is. And asking when this like never-ending war will end, and it will never. That's one part of it, and then the second part of it is Mesmer. It seems like Marika did in fact forsake Mesmer. I thought maybe that Mesmer kinda forsook Marika, and he kinda did in the cutscene. The eye was apparently a thing of grace to kind of seal away the serpent that was in him. The video I watched kind of suggested that Marika was afraid of him, and that's why she left him and kind of forsaken him here. So there were some interesting details of the lore. I think the lore in general is pretty good, actually. I wouldn't mind a official book being released, or a book series. I would totally read it. 100% I would read it. Or even like an anime, or not a live action, please. We don't need Netflix live actions of this. An anime or a book would be amazing, I think. So yeah, it's just some things I looked into this week. Now there's one more thing I want to try. So this gives some arcane. We also did get this. Actually, let's go here. Let's look into it. Ankh-box incantation. This thing. Cleaves through enemies with blood flame blade summoned from side of hand. Find this, to be honest. Here. Produces a blood flame blade from the side of the hand and lunges at enemies to cleave through them. Charge to increase the number of slashes. Markedly different from the finesse swordplay of the Dynast, this is an aggressive last resort of an incantation that gave rise to Anbak's fearsome reputation. It's pretty cool. I don't know if it's good, but it's pretty cool. Now, last but not least, the Remembrance. Well, actually, we might have gotten some gear as well. Yes. Now Helmet. Chest piece. Gauntlet. Oops, we'll check that out as well. Then we have the Remembrance. Remembrance of a god and a lord. The power... Okay. In their childhood, Miquella saw in Radahn a lord, his strength and his kindness that stood in stark contrast with their afflicted selves. And so Miquella made his heartfelt wish that Radahn would one day be his king consort. I don't really know the lore here. Not gonna speculate much. Right. Greatsword of Radahn, Lord, Greatsword Light. Let's check out the Lord one. Promised Consort. Intelligence E. Scaling. With intelligence 50. Well, that doesn't matter, that will go up. Greatsword of Black Steel, wielded by Radahn in his youth. A pair of weapons decorated with a lion mane motif. These were in his possession immediately before his triumph over the stars. The swords of a lord who does not rely on physical strength and gravity alone. Promised Consort. Imbue the two greatswords with the light of Miquella, then deliver a slashing attack accompanied by columns of light. Additional input follows up for up to 2 follow-up attacks. We have light. Pretty much the same stats. Light speed slash. Right. Light speed slash. Assume a luminous form and leap forward to deliver a downward slash at the speed of light. This attack will be followed by an additional light attack. Charge to increase power of the skill and number of follow-up attacks. I think that sounds interesting, but we can get both, to be honest. Light of Miquella. Annihilates foes with a pillar of light. 72 faith. Holy bananas. Miquella sought to accept all that was and would be, but found one that refused to be embraced. No wonder, as one god and one king consort is all the world needs. Okay. So we go for this. Here, I think... this one. Okay. Now, I'm gonna go use one of those remembrance thingies. I know one. I'm pretty sure I didn't use any. I'm gonna go grab both the swords and we can try both. It's here. Mosquito. So yeah. If you've watched so far, then thank you. I know it's a bit of a ranty video, and maybe a bit of a filler video, but I guess I could talk a little bit about what I'm doing next. First of all, I think I'm definitely gonna change the way I upload. No more full playthroughs. I'm gonna cut out the the stuff that is... well, I'm gonna do full playthroughs. I'm just gonna cut out the stuff that... is boring, which also means more work, so I'm actually going to upload less often but more compressed footage. I might actually go back and grab Impaler as well. Yeah, I'm gonna go grab the Impaler Remembrance as well. I believe there is one more of these. At least several more, I just don't remember where. But the one I remember... Damn it, where is it? I think it's... It's not here. It's closer to this. I think it's here. So just go grab it. The Mesmer blast attack. Let's go grab it. I think it's up there. But yeah, the next game I'm thinking of playing is Final Fantasy Part 1. The remake. I haven't played the original Final Fantasy 7. I should say 7. I know Part 1 and Part 2 is out. For the future, I'm also thinking of maybe playing Palworld with my girlfriend, and also Monster Hunter Wilds, also with my girlfriend. So that would be fun. Actually, there is an open beta, I think, coming soon. If there is crossplay, then I might upload a little bit of open beta footage. So we'll see. So that will be fun. Right, let's go grab that stuff first. Go grab this orb and this. Right, then try not to drag this video out too much. I never really intended it to be this long, but here we are. I'm definitely just gonna pump out the whole thing, and then you can just watch whatever part you find interesting. You don't care about my rant about the game, you know. That's fine too. Not everybody's opinions matter, and it's in the ears of the listener to decide whose opinion they care about and whose opinion they don't care about. That's just how the world is. Even though some people believe that their opinion matters no matter what. I'm not one of those guys, by the way. So you're free to disagree or just ignore completely, if that's what you feel. The golden helm worn by Radahn in his younger years, proudly displaying his heroic red hair, is fitting attire for a lion. When Melania, blade of Miquella, let the rot flower blossom in Aeonia, Radahn heard a murmur in his ear. Miquella awaits thee, a promised consort. I wonder what people think of Radahn being the consort. Do you think that was always planned, or do you think that's a bit of a rewrite for some reason? I know there's a mod that actually allows you to fight Melania as a consort instead. The golden armor, blah blah blah, same. What do we think? Let's get into sunlight. Looks good from behind. Helmet looks really good. Yeah, not bad. The chest piece may not be in my style. What happens if we combine it with like one of the... Oh, that cape though. The cape is pretty good. From behind, that cape is pretty damn good. Yeah, I don't know. Looks pretty good. Anyhow, let's try Lord and Light. So this is the one hand. What is this? Giant curved sword? Colossal sword. All right. That's pretty cool. You have another sword on your back. Let's pick a piece of armor that doesn't have a cape. Well, it has a cape, but yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, let's see. This is what it's meant to be. Let's also put on the so we don't. Right, so So those are the light beams I was talking about, if you haven't seen the fight. I don't know if that's good or not, because it depends on how much super armor you have, right? You'll just get interrupted if you... Oh, that was disappointing. I thought it was the other thing. But still, not bad. A mobility like aspect to it. I always like mobility aspects to Ashes of War. Yeah, not bad. Don't necessarily mind. I wish I had these weapons earlier, but you know, I get it. New game plus blah blah blah. I just whatever. What else were we checking? Oh yeah, I was gonna check one more thing. Just snap on some things before we get moving. Really only one thing I want to check before I end. I believe it's here. There's an old lady. There's an old sour lady. Let's see if she still hates me. Okay. Probably messed that up as well. Anyways, that's it for me. Way too long of a video. You can go back to where it all started. Way too long of a video. Didn't mean it for that to be that long. But it is what it is. Anyways, I guess this is the end of this playthrough. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't think a lot of people enjoyed the DLC playthrough, which is understandable. But I definitely think the Elden Ring part was really good. I'm happy about it. So yeah. I'm not sure if I will do a New Game Plus or not. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do a mod version, maybe I won't. We'll see. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. And I don't know when I'll do my first upload of the next playthrough. I might give it some days. But it will come when it comes. So, thank you, and see you in the next one. Bye.